What do you think about the New Plymouth music scene? And is there anything you would change about it?
Ooh. Well, it's interesting because I think the scene's changed quite a bit over the years. I think purely because of the size of the place. I think you'll have kind of your key players that have always been around, that are still doing it, back from 70s, 80s, 90s. They're still doing their thing. And you have a lot of, kind of the current generation like us that are kind of doing our thing. And in terms of the scene, I think it really fluctuates. I think because at some point it was really singer-songwriter folk based, and then there's the metal scene up at Asgard and places like that, and of course you have Butler's Reef, and you have all the outside acts and local acts that play out there. And there's still some rock that's kind of prevalent, not like it was back in the 80s and 90s. You had a lot of cover bands, and you had some original artists like Sticky Filth and The Nod, all those guys. And then in terms of today, got yourself, you've got me, there's Liana Hart, Sam Egley and Toby Alva and all those guys. There's kind of the rock and kind of the indie thing, so it's quite a melting pot at the moment. And even then, I don't know if you've noticed, but there's some musicians that are moving down from Auckland or moving up from Wellington, I think purely because of the size. And it's sad at the moment considering a lot of the venues are closing down, either at Wellington or Auckland, like Neck of the Woods is closing down. I think there's quite a few up there that are closing down, but there's a lot of stuff here in New Plymouth that is starting up in terms of venues and hospitality, and in terms of the music, I think people are starting to recognise it and see it a lot more and appreciate it. And I think because it's such a small place, everyone at some point ends up meeting each other or working with each other at some point, and it's quite interesting. And I think on that point as well of what would I change about it is, I think there needs to be more support for it, whether it's local council or government, or even within the musicians themselves. I think there's a lot of community that is surrounding it already, but I think it's more how can we actually support each other within any kind of level that we attain to be at. So if someone just wants to be a singer-songwriter and just do it for the sake of creativity, cool. If you have outlets for that, that's great. But then it's also if you want to kind of make something of it, what is there that can support all of that? I know you have like APRA come down and they'll help you with like signing up for publishing, or they'll talk about how you can set yourself up as an artist through RMNZ and all that kind of thing. So I think there's a lot that is supportive at the present moment, but then I think there's a lot that needs to be done within it externally as well as internally. But in terms of the talent, that's a no-brainer. There's plenty of talent here. It just needs to be constantly nurtured.
On that note, is there a local artist you think deserves to be heard more?
I mean, there's probably a few that I could name. Probably Sam Eagley. You know, I think he's quite the talent, and he's quite the chameleon when it comes to production and a particular sound that he has. You know, it's folky, it's funky, it's a bit of rock in there. Liana Hart, you know, she's your kind of classic Joni Mitchell type of girl with her folky singer-songwriter stuff, and I think she's trying to branch out more into the real rootsy, bluesy stuff. I mean, I played on some of her stuff, just did some slide and things like that. That was really fun. And I'd say yourself as well. You know, you've got quite a unique sound. You know, you've got a real kind of spin on the, I'd say maybe, was it kind of early to mid kind of 60s kind of sound. You know, you've obviously got the Beatles and the Beach Boys influence in there, but then, you know, you've got guys like the Kinks and Procol Harum. You know, you kind of sit within that kind of thing, but then you've got your own kind of off-kilter thing that kind of comes with it, and no one else is doing that here. So I think there's always room for kind of everything and anything kind of in this town. You know, kind of anything goes. Is there anyone else? Obviously, more of the bigger ones is Courtney and the Unholy Reverie. You know, they're doing really well at the moment. You know, they just got signed to AAA Records. And, you know, they've been pushing at it for years. I mean, she's like the hell taskmaster. She'll just go, right, I am doing this come hell or high water. So that's really inspiring for me, who's, you know, kind of 10 years-ish her junior, something like that. And, yeah, and there's, oh God, who else is there? There's, yeah, probably Toby as well, Toby Alva. He's got the whole kind of rocky, indie, slightly psychedelic thing going on. Again, got to play with him for a bit. So, yeah, it's been interesting over the last kind of few years, because I actually came back from Auckland and then started to, you know, kind of mix and mingle with kind of the scene a bit more, and a lot of those guys I went to high school with. So it was actually nice to play with them for once. Yeah.
Do you have any projects coming up that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, well, I'm currently writing the second Jack Dillinger album, and so within that, I'm going to be exploring some darker themes. So the first album was very much about expressing and experimenting with what I could do genre-wise. Yeah, I can do blues, I can do funk, I can do rock, I can do this. Whereas the second one's a lot more focused. It definitely leans on the grunge side of things. Grunge, kind of alternative rock, anything kind of 90s, early 90s sounding. And yeah, that's going to explore some more personal issues and things that I've been dealing with for the past kind of 3 years. So yeah, it's a lot more personal, this one. And you'll probably see a bit more of a change physically on stage, just with how I look. Jack Dillinger's kind of started to creep in a bit more. He started to kind of take over. He's like my thin white duke. And he's kind of been a way to kind of express all those kind of dark thoughts that I've been experiencing. And then also as well, lineup change in terms of the band. So I've currently been jamming with Jared Hooper on drums and Mr. Nate Bedridge on bass, our esteemed guitar tech within New Plymouth. And yeah, those guys are just so easy to play with. They're just cruisy, anything goes, and you know, humble people with, you know, mega talent, and have been doing it for ever.
How old were you when you started playing music?
Probably, I think quite young. I mean, I was always surrounded by music when I was, you know, a toddler. I mean, Mum and Dad used to have parties, and, you know, you would hear everything from B.B. King or Norah Jones or Ray Charles, and it'd just be playing in the background while you were off in the corner playing with my toys. You know, lots of booze, lots of, you know, things like that. And yeah, those were lots of fun times, and I didn't realise at the time how much of a creative influence I had over my life. So that naturally tended to influence me being creative, and it would have been drama or music or painting or anything like that, but obviously tended to lean more towards the music side of things. And in terms of actually performing or doing anything like that, I always sang as a little kid, like 3, 4. I was always singing like Grand Old Duke of York. My nana would sing that to me, and Dad, and I'd always be singing, you know, those kind of nursery rhymes. And then when I got older, naturally AC/DC came into the picture. And then it was like, oh well, I have to learn how to play guitar now. And the first song that I actually learnt on guitar and sang was 10 Guitars by Howard Morrison. And I remember that I was struggling with learning the actual chords and singing, because that's always the issue when you first start. It's like, well, how do I sing and play at the same time? And I remember getting quite frustrated, and I threw the guitar down and ran away in a huff, you know, and I was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 at this point. And Mum came around and she was like, oh, look, I'll show you how to do it. And she only knew basic chords and, you know, knew the song, obviously. And she was doing it, and then I looked at her, and I was like, oh. And then she played it, and then I came over, and then kind of being slightly arrogant, going, oh, I can do it better than Mum. And then I did it, and I was like, oh, this makes sense. And, you know, it was kind of where you would put your hand, where you would strum and sing at the same time, so all of that started to kind of connect. And then when I actually started to play songs and learn covers I was about 8 or 9, and I learned all of that down at West Coast School of Rock, which was at the time down the bottom of Borrell Ave, just down around kind of the corner of there and around in that little industrial block that's just down the corner. I think it's a car yard now. But I'd go up there every Thursday or Friday and I'd learn all your cowboy chords, or, you know, that's where I learnt a lot of like Chris Cornell or Soundgarden or AC/DC, Black Sabbath, all the typical kind of rock riffs that you would learn as a kid from, you know, music of like the 60s and 70s, 80s onwards. That, and then I learnt how to sing when I was about 9 years old, and not a lot of people know this, is that I'm actually classically trained. So I did that from 9 till I was about 15 years old, and went and did competitions here in Hawera, Palmerston North, kind of around the North Island, competing and getting scholarships and cups and things like that. And that was on Mum's insistence of, well, look, if you're going to learn how to sing, at least have some kind of decent technique that you can actually call back on. Mainly so you don't destroy your voice. So I was like, oh, you know, being 9, I was like, oh, okay. And I did that and I progressed with it to a point where I actually enjoyed it. And it was my first foray into classical music, obviously. And so there's all that influence as well. So, you know, like Ralph Vaughan Williams and Schubert and Mozart and, you know, any classical composer that you can think of. And, you know, I embraced all of it. I just sucked it up, man. I was just a sponge for anything like that. And then I got to the point at 15 where I was like, well, earlier than that actually, like 12, 13, where blues and rock got their talons hooked into me, and then that was it. I was just, all I want to do is play licks by Eric Clapton and Stevie Ray Vaughan and Hendrix, and that was it. I just wanted to be the guitar hero, the slinger, you know. I wanted to be the rock star, man. And I was appreciative later to where I did start writing and singing, to where, you know, my voice could keep up for long periods of time, because I think if I didn't train, I would have either figured something out by accident, or I probably would have stuffed up my voice long ago. So yeah, it's been quite an interesting journey up until now with all of that stuff.
And do you have a final word for the people?
I have a final word for the people. In terms of the artists, keep being your most authentic, genuine self, and don't let anyone tell you who you think you should be. And as a shameless promo, look up Jack Dillinger, Spotify. You'll see me. I have glasses and the hair. I've yet to change the logo, but, you know, we'll get there at some point. Jack Dillinger, Spotify, and every other streaming service that you can think of.
Cool.
Thanks, man.
Thank you, Jack.
All good, brother.